Ahoy! I want to show you how to harvest in Palia and what you can do to make things a little bit easier for yourself and to get the best results from your crop. So the first thing you want to do before we do anything else is you want to select your watering can. The button that you use your watering can for is usually, I think, R for most players. And you want to pick up some water because we are going to need that later on to water the new plants that we're planting. When you get to the point of the game where you can actually harvest, you will get some soil for free. You can see that here on my 6th slot. I bought some extra ones because I already had some, and I'm going to place one at the back here and add that to my already existing one. Now, the first thing I need to do before I can even use this is use the hoe. The nice way to do this is you just stand in the middle and just kind of circle around because that covers a lot of the ground very quickly. Later on, you get a better hoe and it goes a lot quicker anyways, but like this you can kind of just scrape it out fairly quickly. Once that is done, we can start planting things. Now in the beginning, you won't have that many seeds to choose from yet. Usually you probably have some carrot seeds and maybe some onions. So we're just going to start very simply here. Let's say you just have a carrot seed. So we select that, in my case it's on 5, I click on it, and then I can just choose the spot where I want to place it. Let's place it down here. And that's pretty much all that I would be doing at this point. There's not really much I can add just from one seed alone. The only thing that really is left to do here is water the plant. So that's the most simple way to plant something. And now, after a while, if I harvest this, I would get some carrots. You can also see that there are no additional effects on this. It's literally just a little carrot. So that's what you want to do right at the start, just to get some harvesting going. But it gets a lot better when you get some more plants, you get some more different seeds. You can buy them, you can get different stuff, but the important thing is that you want to get up in terms of both fishing as well as harvesting in order to get specific recipes. The harvesting recipe is especially important. I think this unlocks on level 2, and that is the seed maker. Because this means if you get any vegetable in the game, you can put it in here in the hopper and it will turn into seeds that can be planted. This takes a very long time, so you want to do this quite often. And it's the best way to easily get new seeds without constantly having to pay for them. So for that, you want to make sure that you level your harvesting early. We'll get back to the fertilizer a little bit later. Let's first look at the seeds. Now there's a very important effect with all these different seeds, and that is that they all buff surrounding other plants. They improve their effects. So for example, carrot seeds prevent weeds from other nearby crops, and onion seeds do the same. But then potato seeds keep other nearby plants hydrated. Tomato plants also do that, but they can be harvested multiple times. Wheat seeds give you a improved amount from other crops nearby. The same is once again true for rice seeds. And blueberry and apple, which you get later, can actually increase the growth speed of other plants, while cotton, which is at the end here, boosts the quality of nearby crop types. So you have a lot of different buffs to pay attention to if you want to optimize things. Obviously, blueberry and apple are not available at the start, so they don't really matter that much, but the other 4 you can kind of all match together if you place everything properly in order to get all the different effects. And I want to show you how that works. So what you can see here is we only have some quality boost on the field. That's just stuff that I placed earlier. That's fertilizer. That's not going to matter, but all our tomatoes currently have no buffs. Now, if I was to place another tomato between them, that wouldn't affect them at all because tomatoes only buff other plants and not other tomatoes, which kind of encourages you to have different kinds of plants around each other and not the same plant over and over. But everything else works, and that includes other plants with the same effect. So the effect of the tomatoes is that nearby plants stay hydrated, and we can get the same effect from the potato. So if I select the potato here and I place it next to the tomato, then you'll see that now there is a water retain effect on this. So if you really want to get all of the effects on all of the plants, you'll need 2 of the same type for every type so they can buff each other. Now, of course, we want to have the water retain effect on all of the tomatoes, so we are going to place potatoes next to them everywhere, and that should be a pretty good starting point. Here we go. Some of the potatoes here are bugged. This one should have water retain as well, not that important. But what you can also see here is that the fertilizer that was already in the ground affects the seeds that were placed here now, so the quality boost now affects this potato. Okay, so if we place things next to each other, we'll get this effect, but how exactly does this work? Basically, this spot, this spot, this spot, and the spot that is taken by the tomato are all affected by the crop that I'm standing on right now. It's basically a plus sign around in terms of which plants are affected. So these plants here would not be affected if they were here, but all of the ones that are in this plus, in this cross surrounding the plant itself, are all affected. So basically you start making a mesh of plus signs. I kind of did this with the tomatoes, but I messed up a little bit here. So right here, that doesn't apply. But on the other hand, that also has benefits, because it also means that if I place something here, it affects both tomatoes at the same time. So it has benefits and downsides depending on how you want to place your field. What layout you choose is up to you, but you get the general idea. So in this case, the next thing that we want is we want to get a quality boost, which we can get from cotton, and only from cotton. We're going to place that at the bottom of each, right here, right here, right here. Oh, and then we need to use a normal one because we ran out of the premium ones. I don't really know how much of a difference that makes in terms of quality, but now you can see they all have quality boost, all of the tomatoes specifically. And obviously some other plants that are around also get quality boost. For example, these potatoes here that are next to the cotton also get the quality boost. So yeah, it helps a lot. And here we have both of the tomatoes being affected by the same cotton. We also want to increase the amount, and obviously we also want to grow all the different plants anyway, so it kind of works out for us here. So by placing wheat, we can increase the amount. Now you will see that this down here will only end up with 3 buffs. We are skipping the weed prevention, which, you know, it's nice to have, but you can just weed it out yourself. You just have to check on your plants occasionally, and it's usually not the biggest deal. Again, we're running out of the premium seeds here, so place normal ones. It's not really a big deal, especially if we're using quality boosts. They usually end up pretty high quality anyways. And then, last but not least, we want to get weed prevention where we can, because we don't have any apple trees or blueberries yet that could give us the growth speed. So place them up top, basically. I'm going to use some carrots as well, because I ran out of onion seeds. Slightly cheaper, slightly quicker to make. Same effect, so that's fine. And now you can see that all of the tomatoes here have 4 buffs, with the exception of the one down here that didn't get the weed prevention. But everything else is right here. Very, very easy. Very nice. So these are going to grow very well, and we're going to get very good tomatoes. And obviously, in return, they're buffing everything around them as well, which is great. Because, for example, these potatoes here get a ton of buffs as well, which is very nice, because it's kind of a side effect of having this mixed layout. Of course, we will need to water them. I've got a bit of a better watering can, which waters multiple crops at once a little bit. There's an even better one later, but this one will do for now. Because we have water retention on these tomatoes, at this point we basically don't need to water anything anymore that's in this inner circle. Of course, if there's any plants outside, like a little carrot over here, that's not going to benefit from that. That's going to be on its own and needs to be watered. But everything around here doesn't need to be watered, which is very, very important, because it means that the plants keep growing even if you log off. So water retention especially is something that you want to have whenever possible. Water retain is called, just because it means you can get way more plants while you're not even playing. Just a quick me from the next day. You can see here in the morning, all of the plants are still watered except for the one in the very back here, and another one that I placed at the very edge here, just to buff the other ones a little bit. There were some weeds that I picked out as well, and that was about it, and the tomatoes are actually already done. But that's not all. There's also the worm farm. So again, this is from fishing. I think it's also level 2. And what you do here is you place any food in here. You can see anything from the storage here works. And that gets turned into worms and into manure. Fertilizer rather. And this fertilizer can then be used to buff your fields. There are different ones later on, but for now this is what we get. And this is also useful for fishing. It also gives you more expensive fish. So it's good in multiple ways. We select this fertilizer. We want to make sure that we're holding G so we can actually see what's going on. And then we can tell what has quality boost and what doesn't. So for example, down here, we have a crop that doesn't have quality boost. Now we put fertilizer on it. But the difference here compared to the other ones that just show quality boost in general is it shows quality boost 1. Now this doesn't mean that there's a different level of quality boost. This is actually a timer for the amount of days this is active for. So you want to put a little bit on there for maybe like 5 days so that it doesn't run out while the crop is growing. It doesn't actually have anything to do with the quality by itself. If you have enough on there for the days that the plant is growing, then you got it covered. So here, for example, we could also do the same thing. The plants that usually lead quality boost the most are the plants that provide you with quality boost, which is cotton, because cotton is the only plant that can provide quality boosts, so it can never actually benefit from its own quality boost. So you need fertilizer to improve the quality of cotton specifically. Now, the downside is that all your cotton ends up being cotton with a star, which is not necessarily always better because it doesn't actually turn into better fabric when you craft it. So you don't really always need to do it, but I like to do it anyways because I have way too much manure anyways, so might as well. It can sometimes be quicker to not use manure at all and don't get any quality boosts so that you can use the ingredients in recipes without allowing for premium resources. You can kind of work around that and then select other ones, but it just makes it quicker. So you get more money from higher quality ones with a star, but in some situations that's not necessarily the easiest, best thing to do. Those are very niche situations though, so it's not really something you have to worry about too much. I'm just saying it's not always important to throw fertilizer on there. Whenever you harvest, I recommend you go straight to the seed maker and drop at least some plants in there, just so you can have this continuous cycle of seeds, and later in the game you'll probably just throw a stack in there after harvesting, and then you have seeds for days, so you don't have to worry about that. You can see that I kind of have a little bit of everything right now, but ideally I want to get to the level where I have just 20 of each pre-stacked, but that's just something that requires me to basically wait overnight and leave a lot in the hopper here. You can also make multiple seed makers, but there are certain limits. You have to pay some extra to place more, so that's up to you if you want to do that early. If you do one of the 3 stacks and you don't want to lose out on any effects, you can also just use fertilizer and get quality boost that way. So I can just put a little bit of quality boost on here, and now I'll have quality boost for long enough for this plant, and you have all the other effects, so you're not really losing anything. This one, on the other hand, I can't add weed prevention to because that has to come from a nearby plant. I don't have fertilizer for that yet. There are some more things to pay attention to later for placement of bigger plants because they take up more space, so it's kind of a bit more difficult to build around them, but they also affect more plants around them the same way, so that kind of works out, I guess. Overall, this should definitely help you get started and get a very good overview of how to benefit most from your plants and get a lot of good plants very quickly, very easily. And once you get to this point, the field kind of starts working for itself because you're getting a lot of money back from this, especially if you cook the ingredients here, and many of them can be used in many recipes, which give you quite a lot of gold. For example, for the recipes that I have so far, steak dinner requires wheat, hearty vegetable soup of course requires vegetable, ramen requires wheat as well, and then the meat stir fry requires any vegetable as well as rice on top of that. And the other things are very easy to get, and this one you can just buy for very cheap and you get more than 200 gold for that. So a very easy way to make money just by having rice on your fields, having some vegetables in general. And then of course you can also sell a lot of the vegetables just straight up like that and make good gold from that. Now, if you found these tips so far helpful, then subscribing to the channel would help me out a lot, and of course give you more other tips for Palia that are coming in the next days. But I have some extra tips specifically for harvesting as well though. If you go to your storage and you try to find stuff, it can be a bit annoying. You have to go over here to the crops tab, and then there's other stuff in here that doesn't really help you because it can't be placed on the fields. So there's an easier way to exactly get what you want, and that is in the seed maker. The seed maker shows you parts of your storage that are affected by the seed maker, which are exactly the parts that are also affected by harvesting. It's only all the stuff that you get from harvesting as well as all the seeds. So this is a very easy way to get a quick overview of what you have and what you need. Also, in case you didn't know yet, once you can craft fabric, you need a fabric maker for that, then you can actually just place your cotton in the fabric maker and it will make fabric over time. Again, there's no premium version of the fabric it seems, so even if you put the cotton with a star in there, it'll still turn out as the normal fabric, always with a value of 48. Here you can see the same thing. Whereas this cotton actually has a value of 67, so I'd only do that if you actually need the fabric for anything. With a cheaper one, normal cotton here, the value is 45, so there is a little bit of a gain there. I hope to see you again for the next video soon. Thanks for watching. Sloth out.